Yo, what's going on, people? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan. I hope you're doing well, friend. I really genuinely do hope that. Welcome back to Chelsea News, of course, the daily series here on the channel where I reflect on what's being said about Chelsea, what's going on with the Blues, giving you my opinion on it for whatever that's worth, and more importantly, asking for yours. Today, we're discussing a few things. Loanies being announced and even playing, Datro Fofana off to Burnley, Maatsen impressing on his debut for BVB, Pochettino speaking about the transfer market after Chelsea's 1-0 win in the Fulham derby, Chelsea considering the likes of Alexander Isak. Do we still need that senior striker? What's going on with Nkunku? Lots to get into. If you are interested in keeping up with the Chelsea news, in my opinion, and commentary on it, then please do consider subscribing to this channel, Football Therapy. The click of a button, the tap of your thumb takes a millisecond. And if you really do want to support the channel, why not like and comment and share and all that good stuff? Alright then, let's get into it. Let's start off with David Datro Fofana. After a really peculiar ET announcement video, Burnley of course have now got their man, the Ivorian Chelsea striker. A really strange loan for me. I think Burnley are going to get relegated, so it's kind of sending him down to a sinking ship, but Chelsea view this, also saith Fabrizio Romano, transfer guru, Chelsea view this as an opportunity to give David Datro Fofana Premier League experience this season. Even if it's difficult, of course they got a draw against Luton on Friday night, but it's not really sensational blockbuster stuff, is it? Still, if David Datro Fofana joins Burnley and scores even the odd goal, they really can't score, then that's a good look on him, right? If he goes to a really struggling club, puts the ball in the back of the net a few times, and maybe gives them a sniff of hope at times, which again, for me personally, I think that's really far-fetched, then that will be a good look for him. And Chelsea will feel good that he's closer, they keep an eye on him, he can play against certain Premier League opposition, they can see how he moves, how his fitness is in this league. It's a good opportunity. I know he joined us last January and played some Premier League football, but this is just more of a sample size to really assess what he is as a football player, as an asset for Chelsea, essentially. Anyway, let me know what you think of this loan move. Comment down below. It's all tied up, it's done, and Chelsea will probably look to send more players out the door, which we will, of course, keep a close eye on as stories develop here on the channel. Let's move on. Quite surprisingly, Ian Maatsen has already made his full debut for Borussia Dortmund this weekend, actually getting a start as well. Shows you how much they needed him. They got a 2-0 win in their game in the Bundesliga, and of course he was only the second big story in that, as Jadon Sancho came off the bench for Borussia Dortmund and he assisted his old mate Marco Reus, setting him up for a goal in 20 minutes of play. And the big story is he's already got more goal involvements than Antony this season, and he's only played a few minutes for Dortmund. But when I was going through Ian Maatsen's social media, his Instagram, the Dortmund fans already love the young Dutch left-back, of course playing at his native left-back position. I guess maybe it suits him a little bit more in the Bundesliga. Who knows? Maybe he could have done it in the Premier League, just didn't have a fair crack at it. He is quite a petite player though, and maybe Pochettino saw problems there. Chelsea aren't a very big team, so when you can get big players in, it's often a bonus. The best example of that is of course Pep Guardiola. Look at his treble-winning Manchester City team last season. He went with like a lot of big boys. Of course he's got loads of technicians in the midfield, like small, diminutive Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden types. Even Julian Alvarez isn't very big. Of course he's got the monster up front in Haaland, but with those 4 centre-backs at the back, Pep Guardiola allowed his team to basically boast some height and some aggression. I think Pochettino is a bit like Guardiola in that sense. He doesn't want too many small, diminutive players, especially in the back line. Still, I'm very, very happy that Ian Maatsen is already very loved by Dortmund fans. They're already going into his Instagram comments saying, you got to stay past the 6 months, you got to stay with us after one performance in one start. But the fact how he was there for, what, like a day before, and he's already starting at fullback, which isn't like, you know, you get a striker in and you can just chuck him up top and, you know, let him run around and try and score goals. You need a lot of tactical discipline and you need to know what you're doing at the back, but you know, Maatsen was trusted and he played well. So already this is looking like an excellent loan for him. Of course, he extended with Chelsea before going out there, but he understands, I think Chelsea understand, that he's not going to continue with us, that it's just protecting his interests in terms of security and protecting Chelsea in terms of asset value and not, you know, not letting him go for nothing. He does have a buyout clause apparently as well, and Borussia Dortmund have first refusal on that buyout clause. We'll see what happens there, but yeah, I'll keep a close eye on him, as many of you will be be as well. It's always interesting to see how Chelsea players do abroad, whether they're on loan or, you know, whether it's like AC Milan where we've got 4 ex-Chelsea boys out there. It's always nice to keep an eye. Alright then, let's move on. So Chelsea had scouts at Newcastle United versus Manchester City yesterday, and everyone was thinking, why? Why scout this game? Well, of course, there have been stories about Newcastle United having financial issues and may have to sell some of their players so that they can buy and rebuild and upgrade. Now, this caused a lot of stir between football fans, and Chelsea fans naturally immediately went, Alexander Isak, it makes sense. We need a striker. We haven't thought about him before. And of course, Newcastle United, they've got Callum Wilson. They don't need another striker. And they'd make loads of money selling Isak to Chelsea. Could it happen? My brain started thinking as well, and we already know that Chelsea have a relationship with the Newcastle owners. Certainly Amanda Staveley has been pictured with Bedadik Bali, Todd Bowley. They had loads of meetings. They've got a relationship there. So I thought, can it happen? And the truth is, almost certainly not. Before a story could even get going, a bunch of Newcastle journalists, or certainly transfer specialists, were saying, yeah, Alexander Isak is considered unsellable by Newcastle United. Of course, he put in a great performance again yesterday against Man City, scoring a lovely goal as well. He's in good goal-scoring form, though he has got a very concerning injury record across both Newcastle United and back to Borussia Dortmund. Very concerning in terms of always being out with different injuries. So you could say he'd fit right into Chelsea. But despite the good relationship between the Chelsea and Newcastle owners, despite the fact that Newcastle United may have to sell to ensure they can buy and strengthen in problem positions, I don't think Chelsea will be able to buy Alexander Isak, though I think he would be a really, really good player to slam dunk into this Chelsea side. So let's move on and talk about strikers a little bit more generally. After the Chelsea win over Fulham in the Fulham derby, Pochettino was asked about this. If you're interested in my detailed thoughts about how that game went, please do consider watching my complete breakdown, which is my previous upload to this one. An excellent performance from Cole Palmer, and indeed an excellent performance from Enzo Fernandez, and an excellent performance from Georgia Petrovic. Do go watch that upload. Pochettino was asked about strikers in both the pre-match press conference and post-match, and he says, look, I've never said we need a striker. I've never said anything. I said we'll assess the market. Now, there are meetings. There are meetings between Pochettino and the sporting directors and the owners as well. Fabrizio Romano and other transfer specialists in the media, journalists, have confirmed Chelsea do want a striker, but they're not just going to go for any striker, which is kind of news to my ears. I think I've said it recently on the channel. Certainly I've said it on my Instagram live. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's @FootballYannick. I do lots of live streams on there. I think for us, look, when you pay a football director of a big club like Chelsea, probably millions of pounds in salary, you can imagine they get paid a lot of money. For them to just go, Chelsea can't score goals. How do we solve this with our specialised expertise that we get paid a ridiculously high salary for? Let's buy Victor Osimhen. I joked about this before, but that is literally something that a 14, 15-year-old FIFA playing kid would do. I want to buy Osimhen because my team's not scoring goals. It can't be that easy. It can't be that reductive. It can't be that simple. There's so many variables when buying a player, especially in such a unique position in a football team, rather than just go, oh yeah, well, it's such a big problem, we have to spend such a big amount of money on it, surely. And that means we got to buy a guy who's recently scored a lot of goals. It's the Lukaku thing all over again. There's so many variables. Does he fit our team? Not just in a sort of play style profile, but a psychological profile. You know, what's he like mentally? How's he going to culturally fit in with, you know, the teammates, the club, the city, the league? You know, stylistically, how's it going to go? What's his trend like as he peaks? There's so many things to consider. Not just, oh, he scored a lot of goals, we need to slam dunk him into this starting lineup. I think there's only one player with that, and that is, let's say two. Erling Haaland, just because if you put him in the box, he's going to score. And Harry Kane, because Harry Kane's just an amazing footballer. Everyone else, whether it's your Lautaro Martinez's, a super informed Lukaku that was amazing for 2 years, he was. Martinez, Osimhen, like whoever it is, you just don't know they're going to do well in your side, in your league, in your club, with those people around you, like with these personalities. There's so many things to consider. So to just go Victor Osimhen, it's a bit like, alright mate, you earned your salary there, didn't you? Don't get me wrong. We signed Victor Osimhen. I'm going to get excited, okay? It's fine, I like it, it's fun, bring it on. But I just wanted to get that rant out of the way. Like, what are we paying these people for, these sporting directors? Now look, Chelsea do have a big plan. They've got Project 2030, we're constantly signing people, and it's probably worth mentioning at this point, we've announced Whisper. That's right, Dujon Richards, the young Jamaican striker, 18-year-old. Of course, we've been linked with him for a long, long time. He looks like a very, very good player, very good skills and technicality. So with that, we're being linked to freaking Evan Ferguson of Brighton. I haven't actually spoken about it yet because I just think it's nonsense. I'm not saying the link's nonsense. I'm saying us spending 100 million on an 18, 19-year-old when we've got, in terms of young strikers, Nico Jackson, Breuer, David Washington, David Datro Fofana, and Whisper. Now, is that 4 or 5? That's a lot of young players. It's just lots. What we need is seniority and sensibleness in the team. Fulham, again, was another example of lacking that. Look, I think we played pretty well at Fulham. Again, if you want my detailed thoughts, go watch the previous upload. I think largely we played well. We had self-belief and good performances individually, but there's still that sort of, lacking a killer. I know it's really boring to say that, but it's true. You need someone that's just an experienced, sensible head up top. Like, again, to reference something that I said to my Instagram followers on a live stream, remember when we signed Olivier Giroud, I think in January? Like, I wouldn't sign him now because he's, 36, but how old was he when we signed him? 31? I'd sign Giroud again for like £18 million or whatever we paid for him. I know that goes against the owner's plan at the moment, but he was great, Giroud, for in terms of what he brought. I don't think there's a deal like that available, but that's the kind of thing that I'd like to go for. If Chelsea want to buy a 26-year-old or a 25-year-old who's scoring a lot of goals, great. Hopefully he can make it work. Hopefully the manager signed off on it, and hopefully these footballing directors that presumably get paid loads of money actually know what they're talking about. But yeah, Pochettino seems to think we don't necessarily need to sign anyone. And maybe we don't. Maybe we don't. The fact remains that when Chelsea play well, Nico Jackson tends to play well better. I do wonder if Nico Jackson would have got a goal yesterday, in that game, and we maybe win 2-0 with the Cole Palmer penalty. Maybe, maybe not. He is good for a goal every now and again, and you'd expect as the team settles, he'll get a little bit better. Nkunku, I'm really worried about this guy because he's not even trained for 10 days because they're checking out an injury. What is going on with this guy? What is Chelsea doing to players? Granted, he got injured in pre-season in another country. Fine, that does happen. It's very unfortunate, but it does happen. But it's just all these players. All of them. Chilwell, James, Lavia, Nkunku, Carney Chukwuemeka, Wesley Fofana. Just make it. And these are all high-profile starting players. What are we doing to these footballers? What are we doing? But the truth is, until you have... we're just so unfortunate that we hadn't had proper amount of time to evaluate Nkunku in the team before this January transfer window, because we probably could have got an idea of, alright, sweet, Nkunku can play up top, he scored a few goals, he makes Jackson better, he makes Breuer better, no worries, everything's going to be alright, let's not waste the money in a very difficult January market. If it's okay, look, he looks good, but he wants to play deeper and he's not getting the amount of goals, and now we've seen that, we know that long term we will need a striker, let's just get one now. Maybe, but I kind of understand Pochettino not just being we need players, because he's got a lot of players. He's got a lot of players, and the problems of late, it's not necessarily lacking certain profiles, it's lacking in maturity. Maybe it's the one profile, and that's an elite goal scorer, but every freaking team needs an elite goal scorer. Arsenal does. Tottenham will need a striker after Harry Kane. Man United will need one. Everyone wants one, bro. Do you know what I mean? So, in the meantime, deal with that, but find a maturity in a settled system. At least Arsenal have got a general settled system. Yes, they've had goal scoring problems of late, but they know what they're doing in terms of a play style. I think Chelsea have got a bit of that. Liam Twomey of The Athletic contested what Julian Laurens of ESPN said in terms of Chelsea. He doesn't know what Chelsea are trying to do. He's like, oh no, I can see what Chelsea are trying to do. They've got a plan. It's just making that plan work. So once we've made the plan work a little bit more, if we keep missing chances up top, then you just throw the bag at whoever. But for the moment, I feel like it's just getting the kids to settle, and it's really tough. Anyway, I wanted to speak about that. Do comment down below, let me know what you think. If you enjoyed the content, please do let me know by liking and subscribing. You can follow me on social media @FootballYannick, and hopefully I'll see you guys back here very soon. Peace.